Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be doing Nick Carraway. So who is he? He's the narrator of The Great Gatsby. Also is a very important character because he's one of the reasons that Gatsby tends to meet Daisy one more time. And where does that happen? At Nick's place. So Daisy's second cousin, he is, and Gatsby's next door neighbor. A worker in the world of finance who returns to the Midwest and becomes a writer. So Nick Carraway's family run a hardware business and have become well-to-do. Nick grew up in a Midwestern city. He has returned there after working in finance in New York City on the East Coast. Before entering the financial world, Nick had graduated from Yale University. It seems like all these characters that we read about have graduated from some lavish or well-renowned university. He had also served in the American Army in France in the World War, the First World War, of course. So he's a very literary man. At the start of his narrative, Nick tells us that he and his father have always been unusually communicative in a reserved way. The meaning of this phrase seems to be that although they may not say much, their words are carefully chosen and rich in implication. That seems a good basis for his ambition to become a writer. Nick tells us that he was rather literally in college. Now he is the narrator of the story, as well as a character in it, as I said at the beginning of the video. In fact, he tells us he is actually writing the book we are reading. So we come to know Nick's character in part through his literary style and use of language, is something very important that you need to focus on if you're analyzing this character in a deeper sense. Nick is well educated, and he occasionally uses obscure words. It is surprising, perhaps, that a worker in finance from a family in hardware business should have such a poetic and lyrical style, because it doesn't really fit. And Nick presents himself as a dull and ordinary individual. But his writing discloses a passionate and imaginative nature, despite his outwardly reserved demeanor. Now, is Nick a man that we can trust, or that you can trust? Consider the range of possibility or possible ways you can interpret Nick's narration. He tells us that his quiet demeanor has led others to confide in him, to share their intimate revelations. Other young men have put their trust in this tact and tolerance, and as a consequence, he has become aware of secret stories and hidden truths, and we see that as he's the guy who connects almost everyone in the novel. This may help to explain why he's so interested in Jay Gatsby, whose polished and carefully maintained appearance concealed so much at the beginning. But as he reveals the truth about Gatsby, Nick also sheds light on aspects of his own character, and at times our perception of him may not fit comfortably with what he says openly about himself. Is Nick a reliable narrator, a man we can trust, or does his own truth or hidden truth shape and color the way he tells the tale? So what we're trying to say, is he biased in terms of telling the story of The Great Gatsby, or is there some other thing going on? Now, is Jay Gatsby a convenient front for the secret story of Nick Carraway as well? This is another question that you may want to ask yourselves. What else I could say? What about in terms of Melancholy? Now, Nick seems to find the world a profoundly sad place, and he has the verbal skills to express that. And he says, at the enchanted metropolitan twilight, I felt a haunting loneliness sometimes, and felt it in others. He gets melancholy when he contemplates growing old. Although only 30, he foresees a bleak future, and he says, the promise of a decade of loneliness, a thinning list of single men to know, a thinning briefcase of enthusiasm, thinning hair. So do you see the depression, if I may say, in his tone, in the way he narrates the story? And can we take such expressions of intense sadness at face value? Perhaps his experience of the war has left him feeling prematurely old and pessimistic, or maybe there is an element of self-dramatization in these melancholy statements. So also in terms of love, Tom and Daisy tell Nick that they have heard rumors of his engagement to a girl out west, that's how they call her. And Nick responds within his narrative with characteristic reserve, of course I knew what they were referring to, but I wasn't even vaguely engaged. Now, we might be tempted to disregard the gossip surrounding this relationship, but at the close of chapter 3, at the end, Nick refers to it as that tangle back home. So you see the word he uses, tangle, and reveals that he has been writing once a week to that young woman, ending each letter, love, Nick. And I quote, "What is Nick really concealing from us here? Can we trust him?" Our suspicion that passionate undercurrents may run beneath the calm image that Nick projects is heightened by a surprising declaration as he says, "I like to walk up Fifth Avenue and pick out romantic women from the crowd and imagine that in a few minutes I was going to enter into their lives and no one would ever know or disapprove." So not only does Nick have a fantasy life that seems at odds with his cool exterior, but he also seems to fear public disapproval of his love affairs. This tells you a lot about his character and personality. What events and circumstances in Nick's life might lurk behind this unexpected revelation? He is indeed a careless driver, and toward the end of the novel, Jordan Baker tells Nick that he is a bad driver. She is alluding to a conversation reported in which he remarks that accidents occur when one careless driver meets another. And it says, "I thought you were rather an honest, straightforward person," she complains. Now, whatever relationship has existed between these characters has now come to an end, and Jordan presents it in dramatic terms as a car crash to increase the drama of the novel. Nick does not share with us details of their affair, but it had clearly developed beyond a passing friendship. If Jordan has not found Nick to be honest or straightforward, can we as readers also not find him honest and straightforward, or are we to, have a different opinion than Jordan? At the start of the book, Nick tells us, "I'm inclined to reserve all judgments." He then adds, reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope." Now, this is a quotation that is very important, that is worth bearing in mind as you follow his narration throughout the book. And Nick is attracted to Gatsby's extraordinary gift for hope. But is Gatsby a worthy model to follow? What is really Nick hoping for here? So Gatsby's belief in the possibility of regaining Daisy's love seems rather different from the kind of hope you experience when you hold back from passing judgment on someone or something. Now, basically, I don't know what else I could say about Nick other than the fact that he also is responsible for the main meeting between Daisy and Gatsby at his house. That's why he's important, because it happens at his house. How he is the connection between them. But other than that, I guess this is it for Nick. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know or drop them down below. Thank you.